Okay, let's get into it. It's the evening of May 1st, 2025, and wow, quite a day.
It really has been. Feels like news was breaking everywhere.
Absolutely. Our rundown today is just packed. We've got White House personnel changes, big market swings, playoff games heating up.
New science discoveries, global events.
Yeah,
It's a real snapshot of everything, isn't it?
it really is. So for you listening, think of this as your shortcut, your way to get up to speed on the really important stuff from today.
Right. We've gone through a pretty comprehensive news bulletin, pulled out the key insights.
Yeah, the things that actually matter. Without getting totally overwhelmed, we'll try to connect the dots, maybe highlight what's most interesting, most relevant.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Economy seems like the big mover today.
Let's do it. The economy. So markets closed generally positive, right?
Yeah.
Before some major tech earnings dropped after the bell.
That's right. The main U.S. indices, NASDAQ, S&P 500, Dow Jones, all finished up. Tech really led the charge.
Yeah, the NASDAQ jumped, what, just over 1.8%?
Mm-hmm. S&P 500 up about 1.1%, and the Dow gained nearly 0.6%. A lot of that was on the back of strong earnings earlier from Microsoft and Meta.
Okay, so some good vibes from earlier reports carrying through the trading day. Let's see. Dow closed just under 40,908, up around 239 points.
S&P 500 hit 5,632. That's up over 63 points.
And the NASDAQ, like you said, big jump, 357 points to finish at 19,928. The US 400 and US 2000 were also green, so generally upbeat.
Until the after-hours session kicked in.
Right. Then things got interesting. Apple and Amazon reported.
They did. And on the surface, Apple looked great. Record revenue, $95.4 billion, up 5% year over year.
EPS up too, right? 8%.
Yeah, $1.65. Record services revenue, they upped the dividend, announced a massive $100 billion share buyback.
Okay, that all sounds fantastic. So why did the stock drop like 1.7% after hours?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the $900 million question.
Ah, the tariffs.
Exactly. Tim Cook mentioned they expect about a $900 million hit from tariffs in the current quarter. He also talked about continuing to shift supply chains to India, Vietnam.
So investors looked past the great results and focused on the future headwinds, the trade stuff.
It really seems like it. Past performance wasn't enough. Future guidance and these macroeconomic worries, especially tariffs, seem to be weighing heavily.
And Amazon, sort of a similar story, strong numbers, but stock down.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Net sales were strong, $155.7 billion, up 9% year over year. Net income jumped significantly to $17.1 billion. AWS growth was solid, up 17% to $29.3 billion.
But the stock still fell, what, nearly 4%?
About 3.8%, yeah. Their sales growth projection for Q2 is decent, 7 to 11%, but maybe not the explosive growth some wanted, or maybe just wasn't enough to overcome those broader economic jitters.
So the takeaway is investors are laser focused on future outlook now, more than past results.
It certainly looks that way. Even Apple's huge buyback didn't stop the slide. It suggests a real sensitivity to potential global trade issues, supply chain risks, maybe even a bit of deglobalization fear creeping in.
Interesting. We saw other moves too. Microsoft and Meta had good regular sessions, as you said. But Eli Lilly, big drop despite beating sales expectations.
Yeah, LLY fell sharply, down
Yeah.
10, 12%. They cut their annual profit forecast because of a charge related to an acquisition. So again, future outlook trumping current results.
And Qualcomm down too.
Disappointing guidance there, also mentioning tariff concerns, it seems.
And Motorola Solutions, Roku. Similar story after hours. Weak forecasts citing the economy, tariffs.
That's the pattern. MSI and RKU both down on weaker outlooks. Thomson Reuters also reported Q1 results, though we don't have specific details here.
Okay, let's quickly run through some others. Seagate Tech was up,
SGX, yeah, solid growth and margins apparently helped them.
but NXP semi-down.
And XPI, yeah.
Yeah.
Inline results weren't enough. Disappointing guidance seemed to be the issue again.
It's a real theme. The market's looking ahead and seems nervous.
Very much so. If you look at that table of after-hours movers, it's
Yeah.
clear. Apple, Amazon down on guidance worries. Meta maybe offered more reassurance, so it got a bump. But MSI, ROKU, QCOM, all explicitly or implicitly pointing to economic or trade headwinds.
And the broader economic data released today kind of feeds into that narrative, doesn't it?
It does seem to. Initial jobless claims rose to a 9-week high. 241,000, higher than expected.
And continuing claims.
Hit a new 3-year high. That suggests people losing jobs or having a harder time finding new ones, which isn't great.
Plus, the ISM manufacturing number for April slipped back into contraction territory.
Yeah, 47.9. Anything below 50 suggests the manufacturing sector is shrinking. And you have to wonder how much tariff uncertainty is playing into that businesses may be pulling back on investment or production.
So rising jobless claims, manufacturing, contracting, it does paint a picture of a potentially weakening economy.
It could be, which adds fuel to those market reactions we were just talking about.
Yeah, it sort of clashes with VP J.D. Vance's talk of a manufacturing renaissance.
It does raise questions about that narrative, certainly. And the whole tariff and trade war theme just keeps popping up. You even saw Ryanair threatening to cancel Boeing orders, potentially linked to trade concerns.
Okay, let's shift gears to politics. Some late-day drama in the national security team.
Yeah, a bit of a shakeup. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, he's been nominated to be the UN ambassador.
We heard whispers his departure was coming. What was the final trigger?
Well, the reports are pretty wild. Apparently, he accidentally included a journalist in his Signal group chat.
Seriously?
Yeah, a chat where they were discussing sensitive plans about actions against the Houthis in Yemen. Understandably, that didn't go over well.
Wow, yeah, I can imagine. So who's taking over as National Security Advisor?
Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He's been appointed as the interim National Security Advisor.
So he's doing both jobs, Secretary of State and National Security Advisor.
For now, yes. Holding both roles simultaneously. It's unusual. Definitely signals an abrupt change and maybe some internal tension or power consolidation. Very significant move.
It's definitely something to watch. Okay, let's talk immigration. The administration's still pushing hard, but hitting some legal roadblocks.
That sums it pretty well. On one side, you had a federal judge in Texas, actually a Trump appointee rule, that using the old 1798 Foreign Enemies Act to detain and deport Venezuelan migrants, alleged gang members, was illegal.
Why illegal?
The judge said the current situation just doesn't meet the historical definition of an invasion, which that specific act requires.
Okay, so a setback there. But they're pushing elsewhere.
Simultaneously, yes. They asked the Supreme Court to let them end temporary protected status, TPS, for over 300,000 Venezuelan migrants. So, blocked on one front, trying to advance on another.
And that Colombia student activist Mohsen Madawi was released?
He was. He's a legal permanent resident, arrested during his citizenship interview, facing deportation seemingly linked to his pro-Palestinian activism.
And the judge?
The judge ordered his release and actually voiced concerns about potential government retaliation against free speech. It touches on that whole campus protest dynamic, too.
So, a really complex picture. What's the outlook on enforcement?
A DHS spokesperson signaled more enforcement coming in the next 100 days. More use of those 287G agreements where local police act like immigration officers.
Right.
And there was a report of over 100 Central Asians deported in cooperation with Uzbekistan. Plus, the legal fight over the birthright citizenship executive order is still ongoing, currently blocked by courts.
So push on policy, but meeting significant judicial resistance. It's a real battleground.
Absolutely. Very dynamic legal landscape there.
Let's look quickly at Wisconsin. Seems like a microcosm of these national tensions.
It often is. That controversy with Milwaukee County Judge Dugan, arrested for allegedly obstructing ICE, it's still going. Republicans want her removed legislatively. Democrats call the arrest overreach. State Supreme Court has suspended her for now.
And a spat between the governor and the U.S. Transportation Secretary.
Yeah, Governor Evers raised concerns about withheld federal funds for roads, EV charging. Secretary Sean Duffy fired back, accusing Evers of playing politics. Classic partisan stuff, even over infrastructure.
Any other Wisconsin notes?
Washington County Executive Josh Schoeman filed paperwork to run for governor in 2026, the first big name in. And Milwaukee County Exec David Crowley hit out at the administration for cutting AmeriCorps funding in the state, citing the impact on local services.
Okay. And today was also the anniversary of that tragic Mount Horeb High School incident.
Yes, the first anniversary, a somber day. Also some local controversy over the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner changing policy on releasing preliminary death reports.
Got it. Any other political odds and ends nationally?
Well, it was May Day, so you saw protests in the U.S. and globally. Many were focused against administration policies on labor, immigration, diversity. The U.S. and Ukraine signed that Reconstruction Investment Fund agreement, trying to draw private money into Ukraine's recovery. A new charge d'affaires was named for Kyiv, too.
And the Elon Musk thing.
Still simmering.
Yeah.
House Democrats are still scrutinizing his role as a special government employee, worried about potential conflicts of interest.
Okay. And one last thing. Medicaid cuts. Still being debated within the GOP.
Yeah, reports suggest Trump himself is maybe reluctant because of the political fallout, but the internal debate continues. Shows the difficulty of finding consensus, even within the party, on big spending items.
All right, let's switch it up. Sports. Playoffs are in full swing. Busy night in the NBA.
Yeah, 2 big Game 6s last night. The Knicks were up 3-2 against the Pistons.
Trying to close it on the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And out west, the Nuggets were also up 3-2 against the Clippers, also trying to finish the series.
So, potential elimination games. We know the T-Wolves knocked out the Lakers the night before. Cavs, Celtics, Pacers, already through.
Right, so those 2 games last night would decide if we get Game 7s or if the Knicks and Nuggets move on.
And the NHL. Even more Game 6 action.
4 of them. Toronto was up 3-2 on Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
We noted Austin Matthews got a power play goal early in that one. Vegas led Minnesota 3-2. Dallas was up 3-2 on Colorado. And Edmonton led LA 3-2.
Wow, lots of teams on the brink or with a chance to clinch. We knew Carolina, Washington, and Florida were already in the second round.
And the Jets were leading their series too. So yeah, potentially a night that really shaped the second round matchups.
Okay, and baseball. Any highlights from MLB today?
Full slate of games. Phillies beat the Nationals 7-2. Alec Boehm had an RBI single. Taijuan Walker made a nice defensive play.
Close one between the Blue Jays and Red Sox.
Yeah, Jays won 7-6 in 10 innings. Tigers beat the Angels 7-4. Giants over the Rockies 5-3.
Any other winners jump out?
Let's see. Cubs, Reds, Diamondbacks, Royals, Guardians, White Sox, Athletics all got wins today too. Busy day at the ballpark.
Okay, let's circle back to tech. We hit Apple and Amazon's earnings pretty hard already in the economy section.
We did. But it's worth maybe just reiterating the key theme.
Which is?
Strong current results, record revenue for Apple, good profit, and AWS growth for Amazon. But the stocks fell anyway.
Because of the focus shifting to future guidance and those macroeconomic headwinds, especially tariffs.
Precisely. Cook's comments on tariffs and shifting the supply chain really highlight Apple's reaction. And even with all Amazon's initiatives, Alexa plus her, rural delivery, AWS, Kuiper, the market, seemed more worried about the bigger picture.
And this nervousness hit other tech companies too.
Definitely. We mentioned Roku, Motorola Solutions, Qualcomm. All seem to get dinged by weak forecasts that explicitly or implicitly cited economic or tariff uncertainty.
But not everything was down.
No. Companies tied more to AI infrastructure, think NVIDIA, Oracle, ServiceNow, actually seem to benefit from the positive spin from Microsoft and Meta's earlier results. Like optimism about AI spending is still strong.
Juniper reported too.
Yeah, results were apparently in line. So it paints this picture of a divided tech sector, right? Enthusiasm for AI and cloud, but caution around consumer electronics, hardware, anything really exposed to trade friction.
Makes sense. And speaking of AI, lots of developments there today too.
Always. Future House launched some AI tools specifically for science. Deloitte's Big Tech Trends 2025 report flagged AI as basically fundamental now.
Alibaba launched an open source AI model.
Yeah, showing the global push. And OpenAI actually had to pull back a ChatGPT update because it was being overly flattering.
Okay. A calibration issue.
Yes, so. Wikipedia made a point of saying they're sticking with human editors, not AI. Palantir CEO defended their work with the Israeli military, which is always controversial.
And AI applications in China.
Momenta involved in assisted driving deals. Meituan got a license for drone delivery. AI is definitely being deployed rapidly over there.
Okay, from AI to more tangible science, what discoveries caught your eye today?
A few really interesting ones. There's a unique molecule discovered that shows potential for rare mitochondrial diseases linked to the PLG gene. That could be huge for affected families.
Hopeful news.
Yeah. And a new theory about the asteroid Vesta, that it might be a chunk of an unknown ancient planet from the early solar system.
Wow, like a lost world fragment.
Sort of. Very cool idea. Then there was that Reddit experiment.
Oh yeah, the AI persuasion one.
Right. It found AI chatbots could actually be more persuasive than humans in changing opinions, which raises some pretty big ethical questions about online influence.
Definitely does. Hidden messages in an obelisk.
In Paris, yeah. Researchers think they might have found some on an Egyptian obelisk. Still early days, but intriguing.
What else?
Genetic confirmation linking Pueblo peoples more strongly to Chaco Canyon. New dating for a meteorite impact in Scotland. And a study suggesting dinosaurs weren't actually in decline before the asteroid hit. Challenging old ideas.
Fascinating stuff. How about the environment? Still dealing with that snow drought out west?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
It's persistent. Utah, Colorado, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Rapid snowmelt, early disappearance, below average snowpack. Big worries for water supply, soil moisture, and wildfire risk.
Utah declared an emergency.
They did. Drought advisories in the Washington Cascades, too. It's a serious situation.
And the Spain blackout. Still seeing effects.
NASA images showed the impact lingers, especially in smaller towns. At least 5 deaths linked to it in Spain, state of emergency declared. They ruled out a cyber attack, but it highlights infrastructure vulnerability.
Yeah, between that and the drought, big infrastructure and climate challenges.
Absolutely. Oh, and Mount St. Helens, the 45th anniversary of the eruption is coming up. Awareness events planned. They're restoring the webcam. A reminder of nature's power.
Good point. Okay, let's move to medicine and health. Some potential policy shifts in vaccine approval.
Yeah, reports surfaced about HHS possibly requiring placebo-controlled trials for new vaccines before licensing. This came from an HHS spokesperson, apparently responding to comments by Secretary RFK Jr.
But it's unclear which vaccines this would apply to.
Exactly. Could be a significant policy change, but the details aren't clear yet.
Meanwhile, vaccine-preventable diseases are still a concern.
Very much so. Pertussis, whooping cough, cases are over 8,400 this year in the U.S., which is higher than pre-pandemic levels. Measles, over 900 cases year to date.
And elsewhere.
Yellow fever outbreak in Colombia, 60 cases, 24 deaths reported. The Mpox situation in Africa is ongoing, and a study showed people prefer needle-free polio vaccination, which could be good for uptake.
So, immediate disease threats, plus potential policy changes, lots happening in public health. Any medical research notes?
The New England Journal of Medicine summary covered lipoprotein, familial polycythemia, leukocyte adhesion deficiency, COPD, alcohol policies, a wide range.
We mentioned that molecule for mitochondrial disease earlier, too.
Right. And another study linked exposure to chemicals and plastics to deaths from heart disease, which is pretty concerning. Shows how environmental factors impact health directly.
Definitely. Okay, let's wrap up with some other developing stories, international and national.
Internationally, the Iran port explosion, victim numbers are still uncertain. No major updates today. India-Pakistan tensions seem stable for now, but the underlying issues remain.
Other conflicts.
Reports of sectarian clashes against the Druze in Syria. The Houthis claimed a deadly U.S. strike on a migrant prison in Yemen, and also an incident with a U.S. fighter jet.
And other global events.
That terrible car ramming attack in Vancouver, 11 dead. South Korea's acting president resigned to run for election. Local elections were held in the UK. Wildfires still burning in Israel. A lot going on.
And here at home.
Yeah.
Any other big headlines?
Kohl's fired its CEO, Ashley Buchanan, citing violations related to conflicts of interest with vendors. Michael Bender is interim CEO.
Okay.
In Wisconsin, the preliminary hearing was held for Gary Day, accused in that Sophia Franklin child kidnapping case.
And some tragic incidents.
Yeah, sadly. A plane crash in Tennessee killed 3 people, and 2 people are missing after a boat capsized down in Florida. Just a reminder of the other news that happens every day.
Wow. Okay, that really was a whirlwind tour of just one day's news. May 1st, 2025. From markets to politics, science to sports, global events to local stories.
It's a lot. It really is. And you see the connections, right? How economic jitters affect political calculations, how science might shape health policy down the line, how global stuff ripples right down to our communities.
Absolutely. So, maybe a final thought for you listening. With so much happening in just 24 hours, what's the one thread, the one story or connection that you find most compelling? Or the one you think will have the biggest ripple effect going forward? Something to chew on.
Good question.
That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.